Today, we're doing a deep dive into an unusual source, actually, but really insightful. We're not looking at a research paper or, a typical article. Instead, it's a detailed creative brief. Basically, a set of instructions for making an English language learning podcast. So our mission here is to kind of dissect these requirements, treat them like a blueprint maybe, for understanding how to design material effectively, especially for, well, absolute beginners in language learning. What can we really learn from how content is specified so meticulously for such a particular audience?
It's fascinating, isn't it? You look at what seems like just a simple list of to-dos, but there's so much deep wisdom embedded in there about communication,
Yeah.
about effective communication. It's almost like a master class in designing for just ultimate clarity.
Clarity, exactly.
And that applies way beyond just teaching languages, I think.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start with the basics. The foundational choices they made, target audience, and the topic. The source is super clear on this. It says the podcast is specifically for A1 learners.
A1 learners.
Right.
And the topic, daily life morning conversation with a friend. Very everyday stuff.
Yeah, and for anyone who knows the European framework, A1 learners, that immediately tells you these are real beginners, just starting out.
Right at the beginning.
And the brilliance here isn't just, picking the audience. It's how defining them so tightly imposes this, like, radical constraint on everything else.
A constraint. How so?
Well, it forces the designers to strip away all the complexity. It really shows that often less is genuinely more when you're building that first foundation.
Okay, makes sense.
And then pairing that A1 level with something totally relatable like a morning conversation, it just minimizes the cognitive load.
Cognitive load, right?
Yeah.
The mental effort.
Exactly. So learners can put all their energy into the language itself, not trying to figure out some complicated context.
And, well, that leads us perfectly into the language requirements, doesn't it? The instructions are pretty strict here, too. They say, use very simple vocabulary and grammar.
And also make the conversation natural and easy to understand. But that feels like a bit of a paradox, right?
It really does.
How do you simplify everything down, the words, the grammar for beginners, but still make it sound, well, natural, not totally stilted or, childish?
Yeah.
How do you keep that essence of genuine conversation they mention?
That is precisely the challenge. And honestly, that's where the real art of this kind of design comes in. The aim isn't just like ticking off grammatical boxes for simplicity.
Okay.
It's about crafting something that sounds authentic, even within those simple structures. Think of it like giving learners building blocks, but building blocks that don't feel fake.
Ah, I see. So real patterns they can use later.
Exactly. Real-world language pattern, even if they're simplified. So when they encounter more complex stuff down the line, that sort of foundational rhythm and flow, it's already kind of ingrained.
Rhythm and flow. And speaking of those building blocks, the brief also gets incredibly specific about length and speed.
Yeah.
It says the dialogue should be about 1-2 minutes long. Very short.
Very short.
And maybe even more importantly, speak slowly and clearly, like for English beginners.
Thinking back, if my high school language teachers had broken things down quite this much,
Ha! You might remember more.
I might actually remember more than just asking where the library is.
That's a great point, actually, because this focus on pacing, it's not just about being short. It's a deliberate psychological strategy.
Okay.
It respects the limits of, like, working memory, especially for beginners, and it builds their confidence. They get these manageable, consistent successes.
Right. One small step at a time.
Yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these details that seem small, the short length, the slow speed, they're absolutely crucial for minimizing that cognitive overload we talked about.
Okay.
Imagine trying to process a new language at, like, native speaker speed when you're just starting out.
Oh, impossible. Totally overwhelming. Utterly overwhelming. So the 1 to 2 minute length stops them getting tired or lost. And the slow, clear delivery, it gives the A1 learner actual time to process each word, hear the sounds, connect it all to meaning.
It's like learning anything complex, really.
Exactly. You slow down, you isolate the parts, you build that muscle memory almost before you try going full speed.
What also really jumped out at me looking through these instructions were the extra bits. The things beyond just the conversation itself.
The support elements?
Yeah, exactly. Support, specifically it says to include Thai translations under each line.
They're specific.
And also to add a short vocabulary list at the end.
Yeah.
So it's not just the dialogue, it's this scaffolding around it.
Yeah, and a really key insight pops up here, I think, about what makes instructional design truly comprehensive. These extra bits, the translation, the vocab list, they're just as vital to the learning as the main conversation.
So not just optional extras.
Not at all. They're integral.
Yeah.
And that requirement for Thai translations, that's particularly interesting.
Why is that?
Because it directly targets a specific language background. It gives immediate direct meaning, line by line.
Ah, so no guessing.
Exactly. It cuts down ambiguity massively. Learners can grasp the meaning quickly without getting stuck trying to decipher things. And then that vocabulary is at the end. It acts like a focused review.
Reinforces the key words.
Precisely. It reinforces the key terms and phrases from that specific dialogue. It basically makes the whole learning chunk self-contained and really effective, especially if someone's studying on their own. It's all about building this complete, supportive little ecosystem for learning.
Right. So what's the big takeaway then? When we really unpack these very specific instructions for just one little beginner language podcast, it becomes clear we're looking at more than just a brief. It's like you said, a master class.
Yeah.
Effective communication in instructional design. It really demonstrates how even a pretty concise set of instructions can hold a profound blueprint for getting something right.
Absolutely. And it leads me to wonder, for you listening, how could taking this kind of meticulous, beginner-focused approach, the kind of outlined right here, how could that maybe transform how you communicate complex information?
In our own field.
Yeah, in your own fields, even totally outside language learning.
Yeah.
Really thinking deliberately about clarity, about intentional pacing, about integrating support for whoever you're trying to reach. That kind of focus can truly unlock understanding for almost any audience, couldn't it? No matter how complex the subject might seem at first glance.